Welcome. Today, we're going to journey inside the most complex object in the known universe, the human brain. We'll explore how we first unlocked its secrets, how it actually works day to day, and, maybe most importantly, where technology might be taking it next. Okay, let's dive right in. So, to really understand where we are now, we have to go back, like over a century ago. You see, the first real map of the brain wasn't drawn from some quiet, friendly consensus. Oh no. It was born from a bitter, very public rivalry that completely changed how we think about ourselves. So yeah, our story kicks off with this foundational discovery of the brain's basic building blocks. And it all came from one of the most legendary showdowns in the entire history of science. Okay, get this. Imagine sharing a Nobel Prize with your sworn enemy. Well, that's exactly what happened in 1906. On one side, you had Camillo Golgi, who was convinced the brain was one giant, continuous web. He called it the reticular theory. And on the other side was Santiago, Ramón, and Cajal, who argued, no, the brain is made of tiny individual cells he called neurons. And here's the best part, the real kicker. Cajal actually used a staining technique invented by Golgi to prove Golgi wrong. You just can't make this stuff up. And this right here was one of the biggest turning points in all of neuroscience. Cajal was absolutely right. The brain isn't one big tangled net. It's more like a society of about 86 billion individual neurons, all chattering away with each other. But that brings up a new question, right? If the neurons are the stars of the show, what about all that space in between? What else is going on in there? So we have the basic blueprint. Now let's jump to the present and look at how this incredible structure actually gets put together and how it holds up under the pressures of everyday life. All right, get ready for a number that might just blow your mind a little bit. For every single neuron you have, you've got about 10 of another type of cell hanging around. That's right, the most famous cells in the brain are outnumbered 10 to 1. So, let me introduce you to the brain's unsung heroes, the glial cells. For the longest time, scientists just kind of dismissed them as glia, which is Greek for glue. They thought they just held everything together. But now we know they are the brain's all-star support crew. They create myelin to make signals travel way faster. They act as the brain's personal security and immune system, and they feed and protect our super important neurons. Honestly, the future of neuroscience might be all about glia. You know, it's one thing to have all the parts, but how do they all come together to make a thinking, feeling person? Well, it's a massive construction project, and it doesn't happen overnight. Nope, this build takes more than 2 full decades to finish. In this timeline, it explains so much about being human. The whole process starts just 3 weeks after conception. Then, through childhood, you have these critical periods where the brain is just a sponge, soaking up language and skills like crazy. But maybe the most surprising thing is that the frontal lobes, your brain's CEO, the part in charge of judgment and impulse control, they don't fully mature until you're in your early 20s. It's a biological reason that helps explain, why car insurance is so high for teenagers. Okay, so once it's built, this brain of yours has to deal with the real world, and that means stress. Now, in the short term, that fight or flight response is an amazing survival tool. It floods your body with hormones that sharpen your focus and get you ready for action. It's basically a protective shield. But what happens when that stress response never turns off? That shield turns into a poison. Chronic stress can weaken your muscles, it can raise your blood pressure, and, most terrifying of all, it can actually kill neurons in your hippocampus, which is your brain's memory center. It literally eats away at the architecture of your mind. So after a long, stressful day, what is it that finally makes your brain demand a shutdown? Well, the answer is a surprisingly simple little molecule called adenosine. See, all day long, as your neurons are firing away, adenosine is slowly building up. It's like a timer, creating what scientists call sleep pressure. The more adenosine you have, the sleepier you feel, which forces your brain to take that break it desperately needs to repair and reset. So that's the brain as nature designed it. But what happens when we start using our own cleverness to rewrite the rules? Let's look to the future, which honestly is already here, a future where biology and technology are starting to merge. And I'm not talking science fiction here. This is happening right now. We're developing brain-computer interfaces to help people with chronic pain. We're using something called neuromodulation, sending targeted electrical signals into the brain to help Parkinson's patients regain control of their own bodies. We are literally building hybrid chips that merge living brain cells with silicon.
We're going beyond just treating the brain to actually restoring it. This is where things get, well, really complicated. So far, we've been talking about fixing what's broken. But what happens when we start to use this incredible technology to upgrade a perfectly healthy brain?
And this drops us right into the super tricky field of neuroethics. I mean, think about it. If you can buy a better memory or a creativity boost, does that create a new kind of social divide we can never bridge? If a drug can erase a traumatic memory, could it also erase a key part of what makes you, well, you? These aren't just philosophical questions for a late-night dorm room chat anymore. They're becoming very real, very urgent problems for us to solve as a society.
So what this all really means is that for the first time in human history, we're not just mapping the brain's architecture anymore, we are actually developing the tools to become its new architects. We're gaining the power to change the very blueprint of the mind. And that leaves us with one final huge question to think about. Just because we can, does that mean we should?